Hi folks, Tim here again with timsclass.com. Today we're going to talk about screwdrivers. And don't panic, we're not going to go over every one of these. We're going to make this short and sweet and quick. I like to classify screwdrivers into several different categories. The first category is the screwdriver that you need but you can't find. The second category is the screwdriver that you had but you went out and bought another one. Now you've got a bunch of them. And the third category of screwdriver is I just can't find it. Okay, that pretty well sums up screwdrivers in a nutshell, but let's go over the technical side of screwdrivers. So we're going to start down this end. These are all screwdrivers that typically come with something that you bought, and you collect them. They're used for various different things. Some of them have little clip pins to put in your shirt pocket. Tools like this come with your ring that you bought. Then you've got just a wide assortment of different ones that do different things. This is probably for some IKEA furniture. And you can see we got a ton of different ones there. Then you've got little tiny screwdrivers like this that are used typically by computer or electronics people, where the screws are just really tiny. You can see here this, and we'll go over this in a minute. This is a really small flathead screwdriver, and we can move here. You can see it gets a little bigger, and the list kind of goes on and on. Something unique on this side, you can see we have actually a Phillips head screwdriver, and this is a number 0, which some people didn't even know that existed. So while we're talking about that, let's get into the Phillips. You have 5 different sizes of Phillips head screwdrivers. You got a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Each screwdriver typically will cover 2 categories. So a number 1 screwdriver will typically work in a 0 and a 1. A number 2 will work and a 2 and a 3, and you can kind of get the feel all the way up through there. So let's just start with a number 1 screwdriver. Just a smaller tip on it, a little bigger than the number 0 that we looked at a second ago. And these are good for smaller screws. Then we move to the most common screwdriver, which is a number 2. Almost all of your Phillips heads are number 2, and these have magnetic tips on them, which are really handy if you're trying to use a Phillips head somewhere. It just holds on there with that magnetic tip, which is really nice. If you've ever tried to screw the wrong thing with the wrong screwdriver, you'll know that if you try and take, say, a number 1 and use it on a number 3 screw, it's just going to strip it out because it's way too small of a head for the head of the screw. These are number 3s. You can see here the size of it. It's magnetic, so it's got little metal chips sticking to it. But that's a number 3, and this is a number 3 screw head, a much larger screw head. Okay, we come down this side, we have all our flathead categories, and the rule here, whatever the width of the flathead, that's the width of the screwdriver that you want to use. So you need to match your screw to whatever size flathead screwdriver that you're going to use. You don't want to put a small, say this size, into a larger flathead screw. It's just simply going to strip it out. All right, and then of course we've got our little stubby ones, all kinds of good little tools. Then you got the all-in-one. This is a neat tool because you can swap out here. We got a flathead on that side. I can swap it out to a Phillips head on that side to a number 2. If that's too big, I can just swap the whole thing over, and I can swap these around. So I've got all kinds of options here. These are different kinds, different where you can see right there, we actually have a Robertson bit, and we'll get into that here in a second, but I can actually even swap those around. So I will go from a smaller Robertson to a bigger Robertson. This is a great tool to keep up with, to keep all your screwdrivers in one spot. All right, so let's get down to some of the other types of, little less known types of bits. We'll start here. This is actually what they call a reed and prince. Looks a whole lot like a Phillips head screwdriver. The only difference is on a reed and prince, it comes to a point at the very end. And these actually work really good for drywall screws. So they fit in there snug, they're tight, and much less liable to strip it out. We've got a pan head screw here, and you can see it's got a flat head. So if I wanted to match the flat head on that, I'd probably go to this size right here. And that flat head should fit right in there. You can see there's no room either way. Okay, but it also has basically a hex head on the end, and I could use a driver on that, a magnetic driver. That's a much better setup for driving that pan head screw. All right, let's move here to, these are probably some of the most common screws, getting more and more common every day. These are called torque screws. Some people will refer to them as a star, and you can see by the number of sides to it, it's got a lot more grip on the screws, and these come in different sizes too. We have a T25 down at this end, then we go to a T30, and this is actually a T40. So these different star bits, you just got to make sure and match the screw to the type of star bit that it is. Like this is a T25, this is a T25 screw, and you'll see it fits in there nice and snug. Very rarely will you strip one of those out. All right, the next one, these are rare. In fact, I've been building my entire life and never used one of these. This is called a clutch drive. This is a different design by different manufacturer. If you happen to find a clutch drive screw, let me know. I'd like to see one. Then we come down here, we have a typical Allen wrench setup. It's got 6 sides to it. You can get an Allen screw gun or screwdriver. You can see here we have one that has a receiver that all you got to do is put the bit in it, and you've got an Allen wrench right there. All right, and then last but not least, and these are used typically by cabinet makers. You'll see this is a cabinet screw. These are Robertson bits. They have 4 sides to them, and they're very common in the cabinet industry. You'll see here we have a little tiny Robertson bit. This is it's called a no head screw, so that when you're using it on cabinets, you're not really gonna see the head of the screw. And it makes for a really good drive. It will drive it in there deep where it can be covered up. You can buy all of these types in all-in-one set similar to this. This is just a little magnetic holder that you could actually put to your toolbox and get whatever bits you want, and just get you a driver to go with that. That pretty well solves all your screwdriver issues. So that's it for my lesson today on screwdrivers. Go out and buy the one you can't find.